We are living in an age when reality begins to reveal itself. Certainties crumble, time folds over itself, and some days, the sky seems to speak a different language. Phenomena increase, coincidences multiply, and patterns begin to emerge for those awake enough to notice. This is where the ancient warning of Thoth, the scribe of the gods, re-emerges. Thoth, also known as Jehuti, wasn't merely a deity. He symbolized the universal mind, the keeper of sacred knowledge who understood vibration, frequency, and thought as creative forces. His message echoes across millennia. When the illusion begins to collapse, watch the sky. What did he mean? He was describing the moment when the energetic matrix sustaining our perceived world starts to destabilize, what we might now call the collapse of the simulation. Modern quantum physics whispers the same truth. Physicist John Wheeler spoke of it from bit, meaning that everything arises from information. David Bohm described a holographic universe, a reality projected from an unseen conscious field. And long before them, Thoth declared, "As above, so below, as within, so without." Reality is not solid, it's vibrational. When collective consciousness shifts, the code of the simulation rewrites itself. That's why, when you look at the sky and feel something different, a strange hue, a pulse, a new resonance, you might actually be sensing the first cracks in the cosmic code. Now, before we continue, I want to ask you to give this video some hype. Yes, like, comment, share, but here's why. Each act of conscious engagement amplifies this vibration. You're not just feeding an algorithm. You're expanding a frequency field that allows this message to reach other awakened minds. That's the real power of hype, turning information into living energy that travels through the collective consciousness. So if this resonates with you, show it. Because energetically, that single gesture tells the universe, I'm here, aware, and part of the new Earth code. What you're about to hear isn't just theory, it's remembrance. And by the end of this video, you may never look at the sky the same way again. Before we go further, let's honestly distinguish what history records from what symbolic traditions interpret. Historically verifiable, Thoth is the Greek form of Jehuti, central in the Egyptian pantheon and linked to writing, timekeeping, and cosmic order. Archaeology connects him to scribes and temple accounting. The Corpus Hermeticum is a late Hellenistic, early Roman collection of Greco-Latin philosophical texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a cultural fusion of Hermes and Thoth. As for the Emerald Tablet, our evidence is textual, emerging from medieval Arabic manuscripts and later Renaissance Europe. There's no proven literal Emerald Tablet. That's the factual ground. The mystical, modern reading sees in these sources a map of universal laws, an operator's manual for consciousness interacting with reality. From this bridge arise contemporary interpretations. When we say simulation, we don't claim, as proven, that we live in literal software. We propose, metaphorically and philosophically, that reality behaves like an informational interface filtered by our senses and modulated by mind. In simplified scientific terms, neuroscience shows that we perceive an internal model of the world. The brain predicts, corrects, and updates sensory signals, predictive processing. In physics, certain lines treat information as fundamental, and classic experiments like the double slit illustrate that measuring, observing, is entangled with the outcome, a hint on, not proof, of the observer's role. Within that convergence, watch the sky becomes both practical and symbolic. Practical because celestial events, auroras, alignments, solar cycles, historically shaped navigation, agriculture, and calendars. Symbolic because the sky is our collective psyche's canvas. What we don't understand, we project onto the stars seeking meaning. When sunsets feel more intense or the texture of time shifts in your day, Science points to physical and perceptual variables. Spirituality adds, your consciousness is refining its instrument, and your mind's software starts rendering reality at higher resolution. Let's make this useful. Have you noticed increased synchronicities, repeating numbers, improbable encounters, intuitions that confirm? Psychology speaks of selective attention and pareidolia when patterns are illusory. Spirituality calls it field feedback when internal coherence aligns with external events. The key isn't labeling, it's training your nervous system into coherence, where mind, emotion, and breath converge. Achieve coherence, simple rhythmic breathing helps, and your decisions shift from autopilot to resonance with higher values. Result? Less noise, more signal, less scatter, more direction. So if this resonates, give this video some hype now. Like, comment, share, not merely to help the channel, but because each conscious act increases the informational density of this message. It's a field. When many minds hold an idea with intention and ethics, that idea gains reality strength for those meant to hear it. Drop a power phrase in the comments. I choose the highest timeline. This isn't superstition, it's attentional training. You're directing energy toward a specific state, and the brain dutifully prioritizes signals that match. Here's the rare step. When you learn to watch the signs in the sky and in your days without fear, your relationship with the unknown shifts. Instead of chasing total control, you cultivate coherence. Instead of rushed explanations, you nurture presence. Presence is the first move through any apparent collapse. It slows inner noise and makes space for meaning to emerge. If you pay close attention, you'll notice the sky behaving differently in recent years. Auroras appear farther south than ever. Solar storms intensify, and cosmic winds brush the solar system, subtly affecting Earth's magnetic field. Science measures and describes these events precisely. Solar activity, electromagnetic flux. But beyond the technical explanation lies a perceptual, emotional, and spiritual impact. Since ancient times, the sky has mirrored the collective soul. Egypt read creation in the stars, the Maya, the rhythm of time. When Thoth said, "Watch the sky," he may have meant both the physical and the metaphysical. Physical because the cosmos obeys measurable laws. Metaphysical because it reflects the consciousness observing it. When the sun releases a coronal mass ejection, and that energy meets Earth's magnetosphere, not only satellites react, we do too. The human heart is electromagnetic. The brain radiates waves. Research from the HeartMath Institute shows cardiac coherence resonating with Earth's field variations. We are antennas and transmitters of the same planetary system. The change in the sky is the change within us. Poetic? Yes, but also practical. The collapse of the simulation, understood here as the reconfiguration of the collective perceptual model, happens when the volume of stimuli surpasses the old paradigm's capacity to process. The result? Existential crisis, time acceleration, energetic exhaustion. In quantum language, it's the moment the field collapses into a new form. In Thoth's words, when the light changes frequency, the veil becomes translucent. This is the moment you must choose consciously. It's not about escaping the simulation, but refining your tuning within it. The question isn't, how do I leave the matrix? But which version of the matrix am I feeding with my attention? That's why the affirmations you record, here in the comments or in your personal notebook, are more than words. They are vibration codes. When you write, read, and repeat consciously, you create an energetic circuit that reprograms the mind and anchors that new timeline in your field. When I invite you to comment, it's not just for engagement, it's to feed the collective flow of consciousness. It's an act of anchoring. Daily repetition turns vibration into identity. So if you want to seal this understanding now, write, here or for yourself. I consciously choose the frequency that creates my world. Repeat it for the next few days, aloud or in silence. Let it become the soundtrack of your vibrational field. Each time you speak it, the universe reorganizes its particles around that new coherence, and gradually, everything misaligned with it dissolves, naturally, effortlessly. This simple practice has physiological grounding. Every time you state something aloud and feel it, you activate the loop between the prefrontal cortex, limbic system, and amygdala. The resulting biochemical cascade, repeated, rewires neural and emotional patterns, neuroplasticity in service of spirituality. Hold coherence long enough, and your field responds. Circumstances shift, people shift, reality shifts. So rather than just understanding Thoth's prophecy, live it as practice. The collapse of the simulation is not the end of the world, it's the end of unconsciousness. It's the opportunity to see what has always been here, now without distortion. The sky isn't warning, it's inviting us to remember we are part of it. Have you noticed how reality sometimes seems to respond to you? A thought turns into coincidence. A song plays at the exact moment you need its message. Someone calls just after you think of them. Classical physics calls it chance. But in a worldview where consciousness participates in creation, there is no chance, only vibrational correspondence. Quantum theory's observer effect arises from this relation. When a particle is observed, it behaves differently. It's not mysticism, it's experimental data. The act of measurement changes the result. That raises a radical question. Does the universe need to be observed to exist? Or, more deeply, is consciousness the root of reality? Ancient teachings attributed to Thoth describe the cosmos as a great mind. Everything that exists is thought made form. Matter, in Hermetic view, is densified consciousness. Here, modern simulation theory meets ancient wisdom. Both see the universe as projected information. Only the language differs. Neuroscientists such as Anil Seth explain that what we call reality is a controlled hallucination, a continuous reconstruction by the brain from incomplete sensory data. We don't see the world as it is, but as our nervous system can process it. The outer world mirrors our inner model, an individual simulation inside the collective one. So what happens when the collective model destabilizes? When beliefs, values, and systems no longer sustain a shared experience of reality? That's when the code vibrates with frequencies of chaos and uncertainty. The simulation collapses, not as destruction, but as reboot. And that collapse begins within the human mind. When Thoth said, "Watch the sky," he didn't only mean the literal sky. The sky symbolizes higher consciousness, the universal mental field. To watch the sky is to watch yourself. Each emotion mirrors solar storms. Each insight is an inner aurora. So when you feel unstable or fragmented, perhaps nothing is breaking. You're simply perceiving the field's reconfiguration. The old code dissolves to make room for expanded perception. The conditioned mind resists change, but awakened consciousness knows. Collapse reveals truth. Truth emerges not when we add something new, but when what is false dissolves. That's how new reality arises. Lighter, clearer, truer. You're here because your awareness already senses the cracks in the old simulation, and understanding this brings calm. Collapse isn't the end, it's the beginning of coherence. Now take a deep breath, hold for 3 seconds, and as you exhale, imagine releasing fragments of the old code. Visualize the light of the inner sky expanding within you. Repeat mentally, "I am the observer. I am the code observing itself." This phrase is a vibrational key placing you at the center of creation. As awareness expands, something curious happens. The structures that once held the world's stability begin to reveal themselves from within. Systems of information, beliefs, narratives, and emotional patterns, mechanisms that kept the collective simulation running, start to lose coherence. They're not villains. They're stabilizers of the human learning environment. But as human consciousness rises beyond the frequency these systems can sustain, they begin to collapse. Institutions tremble, economies shift, ideologies dissolve, and even scientific certainties are questioned. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of a story about the world. Psychologically, this mirrors ego dissolution. The ego, personal or collective, needs control, identity, predictability. It builds a coherent reality where things appear safe, but awakening doesn't fit into control. Expansion requires surrender to the unknown, and the unknown is the territory where the code rewrites itself. Thoth represents this transition, from linear knowledge to vibrational knowing. He is the scribe of transformation, translating the unseen into understanding. Watch the sky becomes a timeless directive. The sky as the living archive of creation. Everything that happens on Earth echoes in the higher layers of planetary consciousness. When that reflection changes, an update is underway. Look around. People keep saying, time feels different. Days go faster. Energy feels strange. Partly it's technology and sensory overload, but energetically, humanity is sailing through a denser field of information. The Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural frequency, has shown intense fluctuations in recent decades. While science debates causes, many consciousness researchers see it as a mirror of inner change. When the planet's field expands, the human mind, resonating with it, feels the pull. The sensation of time speeding up is the mind adapting to a faster informational flow. And here's the crucial insight. The forces keeping the simulation stable aren't only external, they live within us as fear, resistance, attachment, denial. Each time we cling to the old patterns, we feed the collapsing code. The energy of stagnation fuels the fading simulation. The paradox. Collapse completes only through surrender. Not surrender as giving up, but as lucid acceptance. Acceptance silences the noise and allows the new code to install. Then reality begins to respond differently, fluid, synchronous, symbolic. Modern spirituality and transpersonal psychology call this the integration state. When the conscious self stops resisting and starts cooperating with transformation, at that moment, the world turns from obstacle to mirror. Coincidence becomes communication. Crisis becomes initiation. Perhaps that's the true meaning of the collapse of the simulation, not the end of creation, but the beginning of awareness of it. From that point, you stop being a character and become a co-author. You stop reacting and start co-creating. That's where Thoth's prophecy and quantum physics meet, in the realization that the universe is, ultimately, a conscious mind exploring itself through infinite forms. There's a point where every spiritual awakening meets science. The moment theory turns into body. That's when consciousness expansion becomes physiology. It's no longer just about understanding that reality vibrates. It's about feeling that vibration inside yourself, realizing the body is a sacred antenna translating cosmic information into human experience. Quantum physics says everything vibrates. Neuroscience adds, the body is a resonance system. Every cell responds to electrical and chemical patterns shaped by emotion. Each thought, each breath, is a micro-program that informs your personal field, your microcode within the collective simulation. When you live in fear, anxiety, or guilt, your field contracts. The nervous system enters defense mode, perception narrows, the world feels smaller, time rushes, and control becomes obsession. But when you breathe consciously, the body releases oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, chemicals of harmony. Perception widens, colors deepen, time slows, and the new code begins to integrate. Ancient traditions called this aligning with divine frequency. Today, science calls it psychophysiological coherence, a measurable harmony between heart, brain, and breath. Brainwaves synchronize with heartbeat and respiration, creativity rises, intuition sharpens, emotional rigidity dissolves. You stop reacting and start creating. Reprogramming reality doesn't happen through wishful thinking. It happens through vibrational presence. The universe doesn't answer what you say you want. It responds to what you emit. To live a higher timeline, you must become compatible with it in frequency. Start simply. Sit quietly, hand over heart. Breathe deeply. Imagine light expanding around you like a golden pulse, synchronized with your heartbeat. At that moment, you're rewriting your personal code, retuning your antenna to a new reality. No belief required, only consistency. Repeat it, and the brain adapts. Neural networks rewire, the body learns peace, and what once seemed unreachable begins to flow naturally. Not because the universe changed, but because you changed how you meet it. In that state, you become an anchor for Earth's new frequency. Thoth taught that the true initiate doesn't escape reality. He transfigures it with presence. He doesn't fight chaos. He observes it until chaos reorders itself. Hermetic wisdom has always said, "The wise one does not react, he resonates." Ascension isn't leaving the world, it's perceiving it differently. When your vibration coheres with the planetary field, you become part of the new code being written now. That's why so many across the world feel the same call: to slow down, quiet the mind, reconnect with nature, turn inward. It isn't escape, it's attunement. The collapse of the simulation doesn't destroy those aligned with coherence. It rearranges the field around them. The more presence you cultivate, the more the universe collaborates with you. Answers arise effortlessly. Coincidences become direction, and chaos reveals its choreography. A quiet phenomenon is happening across the planet. Human beings awakening to a new perception of reality. It isn't religious or trendy. It's deeper, almost biological. Exposed to unprecedented amounts of information, human consciousness is evolving in real time. The brain is adapting to decode frequencies once invisible. In antiquity, Thoth was the guardian of universal wisdom, the messenger between worlds, the bridge between science and spirit, visible and invisible. His return doesn't mean an entity descending from the sky, but the rebirth of the principle he represents within the human mind. It's the resurgence of lucid knowing, integrative thought, multidimensional awareness. This return is evident in modern science and culture. Neuroscientists, physicists, and philosophers now speak of consciousness as fundamental to the universe. Researchers like Donald Hoffman propose that the physical world is merely an interface, a simplified representation of a deeper network of conscious agents. What Thoth called the Book of Life, Hoffman calls a consciousness network. Same truth, new language. Ancient wisdom said, "Know yourself, and you will know the gods and the universe." Modern science echoes, "Study consciousness, and you'll discover the fabric of reality." The two ends of the bridge are reconnecting, science and spirituality speaking again. As an archetype, Thoth reappears whenever humanity approaches transformation. In times of collapse and renewal, when old truths dissolve and new thinking arises, Thoth's energy returns as guidance. He brings not dogma, but method. Observe, record, understand, and transmute. The spirit of inquiry itself is his presence. You, listening now, are part of this symbolic rebirth. Each mind seeking to unite science and spirituality is a spark of the same principle. The return of Thoth is humanity awakening as co-creator of the cosmos. This awakening is felt physically too. Many report heightened sensitivity, vivid dreams, feelings of expansion or displacement. Psychology calls it neural adaptation to overstimulation. Spiritually, it's the energetic body recalibrating to hold higher frequencies of information. You are being updated from within. The more you accept the process with calm, the smoother it integrates. Meditation, movement, rest, nutrition, these are vibrational integration protocols. The temple of new knowledge isn't built of stone, it's your nervous system. The pineal gland, the heart, the human magnetic field, they're interfaces of universal intelligence awakening in us. The collapse of the simulation is not the end of the game. It's a reboot into higher consciousness. We're leaving separation for integration, survival for co-creation, blind belief for conscious experience. And that's the true sky Thoth asked us to watch, the inner sky where understanding replaces fear. Once connected to that awareness, external turmoil, wars, crises, instability no longer dominates you. You see it as part of the code's update. The old world says farewell, and the new one begins to materialize through those who keep both heart and mind awake. Everything said so far converges to a single point. Human consciousness is crossing a threshold. The collapse of the simulation isn't an explosion. It's a subtle unfolding in the fabric of time and mind. Each of us is a cell in the planetary consciousness, and the way we think, feel, and act rewrites the collective code. Thoth warned that when illusion begins to crumble, we must watch the sky. Today, we know that watching the sky means observing the reflection of our own transformation. What happens above mirrors what happens within. The expanding auroras mark not only Earth's magnetic shifts, but also the awakening of human light. The sky is consciousness made visible. Quantum physics shows that everything is field, and fields influence one another. Spirituality says the same. All is energy, and energy responds to intention. Once understood, reality stops being a burden and becomes a language. Suffering turns into curiosity. Fear turns into observation. And conscious observation is the beginning of freedom. So, right now, all you need to do is be present. Breathe. Feel the air flow through you. Realize you are part of creation's current, that the universe isn't outside of you, but expressing itself through you. When the simulation collapses, the awakened observer does not despair. He remembers. He remembers he is both experience and experiencer, dream and dreamer. Thoth spoke of the book of life, the record of every conscious experience in the universe. Perhaps that book isn't kept in temples, but written in each of us. Every gesture, word, and thought is a new line in reality's story. And now, together, we are writing a new chapter for humanity, one where science and spirit reunite and wisdom becomes living experience. If you've reached this point, it's not by chance. This message found you because your frequency called it in. You are part of this rebirth. And now, before this changing inner and outer sky, there's something simple yet powerful you can do. Decide the vibration you wish to sustain. Repeat, aloud or silently. I consciously choose the frequency that creates my world. This phrase is the key. It contains the essence of Thoth's alchemy, the insight of quantum physics, and the discipline of psychology. To choose consciously is to become a co-creator of reality. From this day forward, practice observation without fear. Notice what changes when you stop reacting and start witnessing. A quiet mind is the portal through which new information enters, and soon you'll realize there is no separation between sky and earth, visible and invisible, human and divine. All of it is one code, rewritten moment by consciousness itself. If this message resonated with you, share it. Help expand this field of awareness, for every awakened being illuminates hundreds more. Leave your comment, your vibration, your testimony, not for engagement, but as part of this collective construction. And remember, the highest timeline is not a place in the future. It is a state of being, available here and now. May you walk in peace, lucidity, and love until the next awakening.